All right, so about the shaft, I wanted to talk to you about number one, this shaft has to be super clean. When your pump shaft goes into your timing gear, you want it to be as clean as humanly or even inhumanly as possible. I mean, like nothing. There's nothing worse than taking all the time to put one of these things together and then have it slip timing on you. So you need to get the proper torque spec on your nut, and you need to make sure the shaft is clean. And I mean freaking clean. Have I stressed that enough? I'm holding this can of brake cleaner here because I wanted to point out I've used a lot of different brake cleaners. Some clean the oil off better than other. Some like push the oils around on the surface. You can do a little test, just grab some oil or something and you can see it. And other ones, like this can of wherever, it really dissolves it and flushes it away. Make sure that you're using a good brake cleaner because you want no residue left on this. You want all of the grease off. And that's particularly hard, and I'm going to show you why, is because that seal there is where the oil returns to the main part of the engine. So it comes in on that little spot where it's got the black cover here, and then it comes out after it's flushed, and lubricated everything in the pump, and it comes out this main shaft. So as you're tipping this thing around, if oil is draining out of there, it could be getting some residue. Not super likely unless you have it tilted at an angle enough where it's running down it, but you don't want to take any chances. So make sure it's clean, and make sure when you install it, you've got enough oil out of this pump to not have it run down that shaft and cause you to jump timing. With that said, as soon as you get this puppy stuck in there and you've got it bolted back down and you know that you've got a good clean shaft seal, you got to remember, before you crank it up, take your AFC housing off and add 2 quarts of oil to it. Again, it's going to drain out here, so you can't really overdo it. Just make sure that 2 quarts isn't going to cause you to have an overfull crankcase, but these engines can handle a lot of oil, so it's probably not a huge deal. But make sure, that you're not dry starting this thing. This one has some oil left in it, but I'm still going to go ahead and take that off and add about a quart of oil just to make sure. And then I'm not going to immediately crank it up right after that either. I'm going to let that oil, if there's too much in there, it's going to drain out here. So get your shaft tight and make sure you start these guys with some oil up. That way they're not starting dry. Okay, moving on here, I wanted to show you something real quick before this gets down in the dark recesses where you can't see it. This is the pump up on top of my radiator. It's getting ready to be set in. And I wanted to show you, when they transport one of these guys, they pin time it. This one specifically is pin timed to 15 degrees. And that locks the timing in there. But what I want to do is because I'm going to be changing the timing right away, I want to go ahead and pull that pin out of there. So you can kind of see that there. You can see the groove that fits into the governor assembly and holds it in time. I'm going to turn that guy around, set him down, and then turn him around, and I'm going to drop him back down in there with those teeth facing out. If you start your truck with it still pinned, you're going to do bad things. You're going to break that pin off of there, and then you're going to have, plastic Bakelite kicking around inside your injection pump. It's just a bad day. So as you're doing this, remember to go ahead and take the pin out before you start your truck. It doesn't have to be at this stage. If it's pin time to 15 and you want it at 15, then you can put it all back together and leave it pin timed. But I do not want it at 15, so I went ahead and pulled that off and I flipped it around so that I don't have to do it when it's, in the truck down there in the dark hole. All right. I just wanted to give one quick tip here. If you're having surging issues while towing or under a load with your P7100, there was a recall a long time ago where the springs that hold the throttle back weren't quite stiff enough, and quite frankly, they start to wear out with time. So you may have one that's broken off and you haven't even noticed it, or you hook up to a trailer and you start having some surging issues on your truck. It was fairly common. These are the factory springs that broke, actually. The ends wore off of them. So this is a for reals issue on these guys. And I just took and I kind of gave them new ends without any of the plastic pieces, because I didn't want those to wear and break off anymore. So just as you're working on your trucks or around your trucks, just make sure both of those springs are in place, and that may help save you some trouble down the road. I wanted to take a second here to just point out something that might make this reinstallation and even the removal of this a little bit easier. This is a large, just a magnet, and I have a smaller version, one of these stick magnets around here that I use for a lot of stuff, pulling delivery valves and whatnot. But as you can see, there's not a heck of a lot of room between the block and the P-pump. So having one of these to kind of help get things started and hold things so you're not constantly dropping the nut down there is quite handy. So if you're frustrated with these, there are a couple things I highly recommend. You can do it without this, obviously, but get it started with a stick magnet. They're like a couple bucks at the auto parts store, and it will save you from beating your brains out on this. The other thing is, if you look back here, you'll notice that I have no fuel pump. Scratch that. You'll notice that I don't have my fuel filter in right now. I found out that it's much easier when dealing with these guys if you take out the fuel filter, because then you can take a couple of long extensions and get in with a wobble, and you can get in behind the pump and you put extensions all the way up to these nuts, and then you can get them torqued and, well, torqued or off, getting them loose, much easier than trying to fight with something down in there. It's just not worth the extra time. Take that off, get some extensions in there, and you'll have the pump loose in a matter of minutes instead of fighting with it for a couple hours.